Flight MH370, government cover-up or military secret. What really happened to Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370? On March 8, 2014, the mysterious disappearance of this commercial flight carrying 239 people shocked the world. Despite years of investigation, global search efforts, and mountains of speculation, the true reasons behind its fate remain unknown. But could there be something more sinister hiding beneath the surface? What if MH370 was not just an aviation accident, but part of a well-orchestrated cover-up tied to secret military operations and governmental secrecy? Today we dive headfirst into this theory, examining uncanny events, unexplained evidence, and the silence of those in power. This isn't just a search for an aircraft, it's a search for answers in a web of secrecy, geopolitics, and potential misinformation. Flight MH370 took off from Kuala Lumpur bound for Beijing, but things took a sharp and unexpected turn. About 40 minutes into the flight, communication systems were mysteriously disabled. The transponder and ACARS, Aircraft Communications Addressing and Reporting System, tools meant to track the plane, were turned off with precision, plunging the plane's movements into shadow. Officially, no distress signals were ever sent. Radar data revealed the plane made an unexplained turn westward, away from its planned route. This zigzagging path took it over the South China Sea and near the Indian Ocean. Despite massive search operations involving dozens of governments, the wreckage wasn't found for over a year, and even then it was only scattered debris. Shocking, isn't it? A massive Boeing 777 just vanishing without a trace? Or is there more to this silence? Was MH370's disappearance a product of chaos? Or was every move part of a calculated plan? One of the most striking anomalies was the mid-air disabling of communication systems. Why would experienced pilots turn off critical tracking equipment? Was this simply a case of pilot sabotage, or did the plane cross paths with something it was never meant to see? Another glaring question arises from the flight path. Why did MH370 veer so wildly west, entering regions dense with military radars? It's baffling to think that a modern airliner could evade detection in areas closely monitored by countries like Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Did these governments see it on their radars and choose to look the other way? Or worse, did they actively prevent intervention? The lack of hard evidence stretches deeper into unsettling territory. Satellite handshakes provided only vague possibilities of where the plane could have gone. Why, with all our advanced technology, from satellites to black box pings, was there no precise trail? Are we expected to believe that governments and military establishments worldwide had no idea where this plane ended up? Or is it possible that they knew all along and chose to keep us in the dark? To understand potential motives for a cover-up, we must focus on where MH370 disappeared, a highly strategic and politically tense region. The South China Sea is a hotspot, patrolled by powerful nations with vested interests. This contested area holds both military and economic importance, serving as a theater for covert operations and spying activities. Was MH370 accidentally or intentionally flown into restricted military zones? Could this plane have seen something it wasn't supposed to? Secret maneuvers, classified weapons testing, or high-stakes war games? Some speculate the plane came dangerously close to US or Chinese military installations, prompting swift and extreme action. Could this explain why no military forces in the region rushed to intercept the aircraft as it wandered off course? Adding to the intrigue is the lack of military transparency. Nations in the region have avoided releasing full radar and related military data from that fateful night. Is this omission just a failure of coordination or a deliberate effort to hide the truth? The notion that governments might be concealing key details isn't far-fetched. After all, this isn't the first time governments have been accused of hiding critical information from the public. But in MH370's case, the inconsistencies are glaring. Let's start with Malaysia. Officials there were slow to release important radar data, and the information they did provide seemed incomplete, even contradictory. The initial hours of confusion suggested they were either unprepared or deliberately withholding findings. But why? Now turn to global military powers. Both the United States and China maintain heavy surveillance in the South China Sea. If an unidentified plane flew into such a sensitive region, wouldn't these superpowers know? And yet their silence remains deafening. Could this be an indication of clandestine operations, intentional misdirection, or even shared culpability in covering up whatever happened to MH370? A key element in MH370's mystery lies in satellite handshakes provided by Inmarsat, which suggested the plane followed a route into the vast Indian Ocean. But here's the kicker. These pings weren't designed to track planes. They were a backup communication log. How certain can we be of their accuracy or their interpretation? Important questions arise from the delayed release of satellite data, especially when families of victims accused authorities of altering or redacting information. Could the pings themselves have been doctored to mislead searches? Did they serve as a purposeful decoy to divert attention away from what really happened? The official narrative depends heavily on this data, yet experts worldwide have debated its reliability. Is it possible the calculated crash site was nothing but a distraction, forcing search teams into a wild goose chase while the truth was buried in secrecy? One of the more tantalizing theories is that Flight MH370 was part of a larger, hidden power struggle. The passengers included several high-profile individuals such as employees of Freescale Semiconductor, a company with ties to military technology. Could MH370's cargo or passengers have carried sensitive materials or intelligence that made the flight a target for international espionage? Some even speculate that the deviation in MH370's route was forced, either through hijacking or electronic tampering. Could nations with advanced cyber warfare capabilities have rerouted the plane? And if so, what was the motive? In this scenario, MH370 could have become an unfortunate pawn in a geopolitical chess game. Was it silenced forever to protect larger, darker secrets? No conspiracy is complete without the human element, those left behind. The families of MH370 passengers have spent years searching for answers. Many have accused governments and investigators of withholding crucial details or outright misinformation. Despite their tireless efforts, they've been met with roadblocks, redacted documents, and vague assurances. For these families, the mystery is not just about a missing plane, it's about justice, accountability, and closure. Why would officials drag their feet unless there was something to hide? Their emotional struggle adds a heavy layer of urgency to this ominous puzzle. It wasn't until July 2015, 16 months after the disappearance, that debris linked to MH370 washed ashore on Reunion Island. However, the location of the debris raised even more questions than it answered. Ocean drift models suggested it could have traveled thousands of miles from the original crash site, but without the full plane's wreckage, these findings remain incomplete and inconclusive. Other recovered pieces, such as a wing flaperon, were similarly ambiguous. Skeptics argue that this scattered debris could easily be planted to reinforce a false narrative. After all, if world governments can stage wars and cyber attacks, couldn't they manage a few carefully placed fragments? The mystery of Flight MH370 is as haunting today as it was in 2014. Was this disappearance purely an aviation disaster, or does the trail of anomalies reveal something far more sinister, a cover-up tied to global military secrets, espionage, and repression of the truth? What we've uncovered is only the tip of the iceberg. The missing communication systems, unexplained military silence, satellite inconsistencies, and curious geopolitical entanglements all point to something bigger. The question remains, do we live in a world where powerful forces can erase a plane and its passengers without accountability? In the end, the truth about MH370 may not lie hundreds of feet below the Indian Ocean, but in the shadows of those who benefit most from its disappearance. The question is, are you ready to keep searching for the pieces, or do you accept the story we've been told?